All right. Hello, everybody. My name is D. Lisa West. I'm a dream doula and an artist. And I live in California currently right now. And this is Christina. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Christina Spatera. I'm a psychotherapist and relationship coach, and I live in the Bronx.
All right. And we chat every week, at least once,
Mhm,
about stuff that people have that run
mhm,
through their minds and run their lives sort of automatically. And this
mhm.
morning, what we were talking about, um, hopefully you don't hear background noise on me, do you?
No, I don't.
Okay. If we hear background noise, hey, that's the world of Zoom.
Yes.
But what happens and how can we manage this when we wake up and already our mind is just a whirl of worry and discomfort, and you're feeling fear, and you're thinking about all the things you need to do and all the things that aren't going to work out, and you're in this just real negative space
Mhm.
as soon as you open your eyes. Does that happen to some of your clients, Christina?
Oh, absolutely. And I find things don't happen in a vacuum. So often when people wake up like that, it's because there are things that they're concerned about. Or I have clients that have issues with like nightmares, night terrors.
Mm.
So if you've just had a night terror or if you've just had a nightmare, yeah, you're going to wake up a little shaky. Or if you're going through a personal problem and it's on your mind and you're worrying how you're going to resolve it, or a financial problem or whatever problem you're going through, it's present on your mind. So when you wake up, you're like, oh, now I'm awake. I have to deal with it.
Right, because that problem didn't go away while you slept all night.
Right. Right.
Also, I think that for some people, and I work with a lot of intuitives and
Hmm.
creatives, and they're
Hmm.
they're they're very in tune with empath and super empathetic people. So
Sure.
sometimes the worry that we wake up with is global. Or
Oh, yeah.
certainly during the pandemic, you could think you could be home and everything's fine, all the people you know
Hmm.
are healthy, and you still wake up in fear and fright because the energy of everyone around you in your neighborhood and the people that you know is in that zone. So
Absolutely.
sometimes it's who we hang out with.
Yes, it's who we hang out with. It's can be the world at large because let's be honest, our lives the last few years have not been calm. It's the very much so. I mean, this is part of the reason why I purposely choose to disconnect from social media at certain points just to maintain my sanity and equilibrium.
Right. So let's talk about all the ways we could get out of that worry zone, especially if it's happens right when you wake up in the morning.
Mhm.
Something that sometimes works for me and sometimes seems difficult is
Mhm.
my 5 gratitudes before I get out of bed.
Mm.
So thinking of 5 things that you're grateful for. My mentor, Mary, said she doesn't put her feet on the floor to get out of
Mhm.
bed until she's thought of 5 things to be grateful for.
I
And
like that.
one of her gratitudes every day, and she's a woman in her 80s, I think now, is for the another day of life. She said,
Aw.
not everyone wakes up. So
Yes.
today I woke up and I get another day of life. Wow. I'm so
Wow.
grateful. I mean, that's like a global gratefulness. And then, of course,
Yeah.
you're grateful that you have a warm, cozy bed to sleep in. You're
Mhm.
grateful that you
Mhm.
have whatever you have in your life. I'm sure all of us can think of 5 things to be grateful for. And
I like
then getting out
that.
of bed with that gratitude, because the feeling of gratitude is
Mhm.
not like the feeling of gratitude is up here. The feeling of worry is down, 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 down.
Mhm. I really, really like that. It also reminds me of, because I do something similar, but a slightly different take. It goes back to the whole mindfulness and being present in your moment, because a lot of times our anxiety, our depression is when we're stuck in our head and we're ruminating on thoughts. So just like we've talked about before with my clients that, when you get out of your head, that's why mindfulness, tapping into your senses is so effective because you're getting out of your head. So I remember when I was younger in my old home, I used to hear this particular bird every morning. Like the sound was very distinctive. And I just remember it was like such a lovely way to wake up. So I think even though the bird didn't follow me to my new place, I think of when I wake up, I love like the sky. So I have like a window, like, right by my bed. And I'm like if the sky is just particularly blue or I see the clouds, like just like in that moment, oh my gosh, what am I looking at? I'm looking at this beautiful blue sky. What am I hearing? Am I hearing any birds out there? What am I smelling? Am I smelling the aroma of when it's the spring, like freshly cut grass? Or did we just have a rain? And so maybe you smell like that little in a good way, because sometimes it actually can be nice. Or am I smelling maybe the aroma of someone cooking and it's coming through the window? What else am I hearing? One thing I love is sometimes you will hear people, being in New York, we're all close together. Sometimes I'll hear music coming from someone else's apartment, and I'm like, that's lovely. Like I heard someone playing classical music. It sounded like beautiful piano music, whether they were playing it themselves or they were just playing it off, streaming it. It was absolutely lovely, very calm, very peaceful. Also New York, you will hear construction. I'm grateful the building is still standing. So to combine your gratitude with what I'm hearing. So yeah,
Right.
just tapping into those senses and sort of leading that in. So you're very present in your moment.
Right. And I just heard someone explaining, and this is probably, you work with this all the time, but I think this might be new for some people. The idea that if you have a feeling, if you have an emotion that seems overwhelming, the only thing that is really hard about it is resisting it.
Yes.
Because if you just let it happen, it will
Mhm.
pass.
Yes.
It won't kill you to
No.
feel afraid, or
Right.
you'll have the sensation in your body,
Mhm.
and it's caused by a chemical reaction in your brain that's caused by you having a thought.
Mhm.
And if you can just sit with it for a while and let it
Mhm.
pass, you're okay.
Absolutely, absolutely. I use the analogy a lot of times with my clients that a feeling is like a suppressing a cough. Okay, in pre-pandemic days, before we all get freaked out, how sometimes you'd be like in a meeting or something when I was in a
Mhm.
class, suddenly you'd feel this cough and you didn't want to cough, in a room full of people. Now you're terrified to cough because the group will probably kill you. Uh, but the idea is, so you would try to suppress it. And the more you tried to suppress it, the worse the cough would get because the cough needs to come out. Just
Yeah.
like a cough needs to come out because your body's trying to clear something, a feeling needs to be expressed or felt because your body's trying to deal with something. Your
Right.
mind and body are dealing with something and they need to deal with that emotion. They talk about how I'm sure you've heard the book, The Body Keeps the Score. And there's a lot of theory now about how we actually keep certain emotions within parts of our body. And there's actually a whole process to that of when something upsets us, it activates the sympathetic nervous system. And so we get upset or we get like our body's gearing up for something that's bothering us. But there's actually a process to this. So, yes, you're going to get upset. But then once your body deals with it, it's going to kind of shake it off. And then your parasympathetic nervous system will kick in and you will calm down. But
Well,
if
that's
you
so beautiful. Unless you
yeah,
resist it. Unless you
yes,
resist it. And then it's stuck there. It's
it's
still stuck.
stuck there. Yes, it's
I
stuck
did this.
there.
I did this really interesting thing, and I think it's called TRE, but it's basically tremoring on
Mm.
purpose to release trauma
Mm.
that's stuck in the body.
Yes,
There are
yes.
practitioners who will help you do this. The guy I learned it from was a fireman, and he said one day he just couldn't do his job anymore. He had gone to too many traumatic events.
Mm-hmm.
He had seen too much death and destruction, and
Mm-hmm.
he was just ruined. But he found this technique, and
Mm-hmm.
he did it when I met him every day. he did this every day.
Yeah.
I use it for when I can just feel like my body starting to kind of cramp up
Yes.
really bad.
Yes.
And the theory is, if you're a gazelle and you're chased by a lion in the African
Mhm.
wherever, and the lion doesn't eat you, you've fallen down, or it's gone off and killed another one,
Mhm.
you probably lay there and shake for 20
Yes,
minutes.
absolutely.
And then they get up and run off.
Yeah.
They're fine. But
Yes.
humans don't allow ourselves, like if you've ever been in a traumatic experience, like a
Mhm.
car accident or
Mhm.
falling, or for
Mhm.
me, the first time I noticed it was right after I gave birth to my first daughter.
Mhm.
I just started shaking and I couldn't stop. And I said to the midwives, I'm shaking so much that my teeth are chattering. She goes, that's okay, honey. Just let yourself shake. You just ran a marathon. And
Yeah.
so it felt wrong. It felt like I should stop it, but my
Right.
body was releasing whatever else.
Yes.
And fascinating to think that dogs do it.
Mhm. Mhm.
Uh, maybe most animals do it, but humans are,
Yes.
we train ourselves not to cough, not to
Right.
shake.
Yes.
You want to sit around a meeting and start shaking. You
Yes.
might want to go home and try that. But yeah,
Yes.
stopping the emotions or just letting the emotions happen,
Mhm.
that doesn't necessarily get you away from that thought that's making you have the emotion, that's
No,
making you feel worried and scared and nervous about what
exactly.
at that point, you probably need someone like a coach or a therapist to help you
Yes.
really get down to that subconscious level, because that is
Right.
really what's frightening us. We don't
Yes.
necessarily even know what's frightening us.
Right. But something about this is frightening to you, and we're trying to avoid it because it all goes back to how we respond to threats: fight, flight, freeze. So the
Yeah.
problem is whether it's an actual physical threat, like a lion coming after a gazelle, or it's a thought that's disturbing, we're responding the same way.
Yeah.
And like reminding ourselves, okay, in this instance, you will not die. Like what you said before was crucially important. If you let yourself feel this emotion, whether it's sadness, whether it's anger, whatever it is, you're not going to die. Will it be unpleasant? Yes. Will it be uncomfortable? Yes. But you will still be alive.
Yeah.
And it's
That's so
important to do it.
amazing, because I was working with a coach earlier last year, and one of the things he was having me do was sit in an
Mhm.
uncomfortable emotion.
Mhm.
And I really didn't want to.
Of course.
I really didn't
Avoidance.
want to. But if you sit there long enough and you just really let it happen, and it's not that long,
Mhm.
like 1 or 2 minutes at
Yeah.
the most, it dissipates.
Yes, absolutely. It does leave your system,
Yeah.
but you have to be patient with it. The problem with us humans is we're extremely impatient. We're extremely impatient. We want resolution now. We don't want to be uncomfortable. And I'm not saying it's fun. Being uncomfortable isn't fun, but it's part of the process. When did we become so afraid of experiencing even mild emotional discomfort?
It's a good question, because you think about, I was watching some television show about the 1800s the other day.
Mhm.
I was like, oh my gosh, everything they did was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
How they lived, how dangerous things were.
Mhm.
Um, just getting the food and living was a chore. And now we have,
Absolutely.
compared to that, such an easy life. I mean, we could just
Mhm.
go down the street and get the food.
Right.
Probably no one's going to shoot at us.
Yeah.
Depends on where you
More
live.
than right.
Um, and life is pretty interesting and
Mhm.
in an easy way, but we still want it to be easier than that.
Yes. So here's the thing. You can't escape the hard work of living.
Mm,
This is life on this planet. We're going to go through difficult times. It's not a question of if we're going to go through difficult times. It's a question of we are. So it's not about stopping ourselves from ever experiencing anything even mildly uncomfortable, but about learning to function when that happens, learning to adapt when things haven't gone our way, learning how to still find joy in the midst of sad moments, learning how to still feel comfortable in our skin when we've had uncomfortable moments. That's what life is about. Life is like a giant schoolroom.
Yeah,
It
that's so
really
beautifully
is.
put. Beautifully put. And was one thing you just mentioned, I would love to talk about briefly, and that's finding joy. Because another way to get out of a negative emotion is to get into a positive one. So gratitude is one
Yes.
way.
Right.
And what is it that brings you joy? I know my answer to that because I'm an artist. So yesterday I was feeling a little bit blue, and
Hmm.
I thought, I'm going to play with those art supplies I bought for this class
Hmm.
I'm later this month. And I'm going to tell them they can do this and that, or can they? Let me see. Let
Hmm.
me see if that works. So I was down on the floor with this
Hmm.
big piece of paper and a crayon, a chunky crayon made out of graphite. And I thought, I'm just gonna do this one thing.
Hmm.
I colored, but it was black. I colored with my right hand. I colored with my left hand. I colored with my right hand. I colored with my left hand. I got up, I got down, I moved the paper around, and I probably spent, 45 minutes
Hmm.
doing that. And I thought at a certain point, it was really reminiscent of being a kid in
Yes.
the creative zone. And if you've ever watched a little toddler or
Hmm.
young person, yeah, probably younger than 7, because 7 we kind of whack
Yeah.
out people. But under 7, if you watch them, they could go for hours with their
Oh,
crayon.
yeah.
They just need a
Absolutely.
snack and a nap, and they'll go back to their crayon. And somewhere in that coloring for me yesterday, I got into that
Aw.
memory of how fun it was to be a little kid and
Mhm.
just not care if you went out of the lines, not
Mhm.
care if all the lines are going just right, not caring if it's, like a atelier trained artist would care. Does that go off into the distance? Does this come into the front yet? None of that mattered. I was just
Right.
moving my hand and
Mhm.
making marks on papers. So for me, that made me feel really joyful and happy.
Aw.
For some people, it might be gardening or cooking,
Mhm. Mhm.
knitting, or something else. What do you love to do, Christina?
So, as you know, I'm gonna go for 2 things because I love to write. I'm a writer, so that's where my artistic muse is. So when I'm working on a story and I'm getting lost in my story and I'm creating my little world building, that definitely brings me joy. Another thing that I love is, I love my movies.
I
I
hear a
just
movie coming. I hear a movie coming. Yeah.
Yes, I love my movies. So what's interesting is, I was reading something and they were talking about, we talked about before about the shaking, how the body uses that to kind of deal with an emotion. Laughter is another one. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah, laughter and shaking are kind of laughter's another way the body does that physical release when
Yeah.
you've been through a major stressful event. This is where we get nervous laughter from. Like you've been through something and like, why am I laughing? Like, because your body's trying to release it, trying to
Yes.
get you from that sympathetic to parasympathetic place. And it either does it through shaking or it can do it through laughter. So for me, if I like see something funny, or like I put in a funny movie or a funny YouTube clip or something like that, it just cracks me up and it gets me in like that happy place. Like, what was it? I saw this clip the other day. It was an ad for a new movie called Book Club 2. And I thought, I don't think I've ever seen Book Club 1. So I said, I have Prime, is Book Club 1 on Prime? And so I put it on and it was so funny. I was laughing so hard. It was Candice Bergen, Mary Steenburgen, and then who else was in it? Jane Fonda, and I am blanking, and Diane Keaton. So it was just these 4 women, and of course Andy Garcia, and then Don Johnson, and it was funny. Oh, and Greg T. Nelson played Mary Steenburgen's husband in that. So it was funny. I was laughing, and I just felt so much lighter losing myself in the laughter.
Do you think crying does the same thing? Because I remember being in a group once
Mhm.
where somebody was dealing with a lot of sad emotions, and the group leader said, go watch listen to some sad songs,
Mhm.
some sad movies, and just cry a lot.
I think definitely crying does bring on a release for sure. I think it's that combination when the body's trying to release the tension in us, when
Mm.
you can combine an intense emotional experience with something physical. I think it's part of how the body releases it. So I think crying, laughing, shaking, I think these are all methods that the body uses. I also think it's not a one size fits all. I think sometimes a good cry is absolutely needed. And then sometimes if you've been going through something very sad, you need a reason to laugh.
Yeah,
You so I think it really depends on what the person's going through. And I think this is where we've got to learn to listen to our bodies more. You know, we get very caught up in what's right or appropriate. Or I had a client who was upset the other day because, they were still grieving the loss of a spouse. And I'm like, you can still be grieving. There's no time limit on this because they were mad at themselves for still being so upset and not being, feeling better. I'm like, no, grief is a process. And absolutely, you're going to feel that. But I think the way our body needs to kind of relieve some of the tension is yes, still grieve that loss, but maybe you need to watch a funny movie too, and it's okay. You could still honor your loved one and maybe watch something that you enjoyed together,
right.
you
That's
know?
beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah, I think most of our human disappointments aren't actually from anything except what we think about what's happening.
Yes, absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, there's a school of thought that says everything that happens is technically neutral, but it is the meaning that we give to it that either will make us feel good or bad about a situation.
Oh, yeah. That's beautifully put.
And
Yeah.
also, are we judging our reaction to it? Like if you have a nervous laughter to something, doesn't mean you're a bad person. You're just reacting. There's a difference between having a uncontrollable reaction because this was very jarring to like, there's a difference. And I think we can feel very judgmental towards others and towards ourselves.
Yeah, I think most people are most judgmental toward themselves.
Hmm. Yeah,
Even if they're judgmental toward other people, that's sort of a reflection of how hard they are on themselves.
absolutely. Absolutely. Like, oh no, you can't do that because I wouldn't allow myself to do that.
Yeah, it's wrong. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
it's wrong.
It's
It's wrong.
wrong.
Oh,
It's wrong, 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 wrong.
yeah, wrong, wrong, wrong. Why are you letting yourself cry like that? Why are you letting yourself laugh like that? What's wrong? Oh, get yourself together. Why are you shaking? And the shaking thing is real because I have been in a car accident and I have had a bad fall. And yeah, shaking thing is real.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, after you do the TRE with a practitioner and learn how to put yourself into that tremoring
Mhm.
reality on purpose, it gets easier and easier to shake because since
Shake
then
your
I've had
body.
a couple falls and I was like, oh, I see what's happening here. It's like
Mhm.
it was almost impossible to not let my body do what it wanted to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Another good one is music. Music is incredibly healing. So,
Hmm.
like, if you are having a difficult emotion and you kind of can find like a favorite song, any song to sort of like let that be a thing, because there is something about the sound and the melody and the thing. It really does work and it really can be a wonderful way to help relieve whatever emotional discomfort you're going through.
Ah, so beautiful. So many great ideas. So here's what I wrote notes while we were chatting. Gratitudes.
Hmm.
Look at the sky. Listen to
Hmm.
music. Notice smells or
Hmm.
sights. Uh, do what you love, if that's writing or coloring or
Hmm.
cooking or gardening
Yes.
or
Yes.
exercising. Laugh or cry, or basically just let the emotion that you're resisting happen.
Mhm. Exactly.
Let it happen and move through you, because that's just what the body needs.
Mhm.
And here we are living in these bodies, so we need to take care of them too.
Yes, we
The
do.
body and the mind are
Mhm.
obviously interconnected.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you,
So
Christina.
one.
Nice
Thank
chatting.
you. Nice
And
chatting with you too.
I'll put the movie book club too in the show notes. so everybody knows.
Well, Book Club 2 is coming and launched in theaters, but Book
Okay.
Club 1 can be found on Amazon Prime, and I know I'm not getting any money from it.
We're not sponsored. Okay, bye for now, everybody.
Bye.